and I am Sisir. I'm an automation architect at HP Inc. And with this, as we were said, with this particular forum, we will understand and walk you through a bit about UiPath Upgrade, how this upgrade programs works, and what are the best practices in HP. We basically following starting with 2016 till today, and the success stories, how what all will be covered. And yeah, before I start, maybe thanks Vivo for organizing this, and this is really going to be a good one. Quick agenda, which a lot of content, but just to align, maybe you can see what all topics we'll cover. A quick start with the RPA building blocks, and then we'll see the release cycle, how orchestrated release happens over the year, what is the difference of LTS and FTS, how do we, different nomenclature, how we come across. Some changes with 20.10 and what is new with 20.10, and I'll show you one of the approach of upgrade, how basically this is being happen, like how one cycle, one of the prototype, how the upgrade cycle will best fit maybe some of your enterprise, and some common issues resolution and some activities we'll discuss. Okay, so as all of this community may be already aware what is RPA, what is automation, and what UiPath is offering us, but just to give bit of building blocks in summary, like let's start with the topic of discover. So today, maybe whenever there is a automation opportunities are mining, maybe think about there's idea is coming in as a automation opportunity. So the tool which is offered is Automation Hub. We have similar tools like task mining, process mining, and task capture is a document capture. These are the tool helps which is helping in terms of discover the automation ideas. And after that, it comes for build, manage, and run, which is nothing but our Studio family, which is coming up Studio X, Studio, and Studio Pro. And we have a manage where once the solution is developed using this build component like Studio family, it would be deployed into Orchestrator, which is nothing but a web tool which controls entire life cycle, the entire structure. For example, licensing, packages, asset, all details being managed over the web, which is nothing but the orchestrator. And the third piece is our run. Here I'm showing the digital assistant where once the solution is developed, it's being deployed and executed through the digital assistant. Once that structure is there, we always think of, okay, my solution is working. After that, you might be thinking where we'll do measure and where we connect. So the major piece is the insights, where this is also one of the then component, which is analyzing the log and trying to present what exactly the utilization metrics of the automation. And the last piece is the how do we engage so that this is iterative and following the cycle, which is apps and action center, chatbot is also one more component. So all this is part of our building blocks. Now, to use all this, definitely there is certain dependencies, and the dependency is nothing but the upgrade. So we definitely need to do upgrade to connect all this components, take advantage of everything. Now, when it comes to upgrade, we really need to understand how is the release, what different components are attached, what versions are there. So if you see this, it's a top down from the release cycle, like 20.10 is our current release version. And when it is released, like in the October cycle, it's generally released, any LTS happens. So current version is 20.10 orchestrator. And prior to that, there was a FTS, the first track support. This is for long-term support, and so LTS is nothing but long-term support. We'll understand bit the next slide. So this is our upgraded version. So if you see the way you need to take this is there are three types of supports. The way it is colored. The first one is the mainstream, which is already in active. The support is going on, and extended is which is the extended support. It will be very short time, and one is out of support. You'll get a more detail with this particular link with a similar diagram. The way to understand is, okay, the one which is mainstream, what is extended support, and which is out of support. So we should always target for going into a mainstream so that we get the right time and support from UiPath team. So here we do have other products like Action Center, which is recently released as a public general availability. It was preview till December. Now it is released as a general available, so we can take it to 20.10, and insights as well. So whenever we have these add-ons, this helps to those major part what I just present in the last. So here there are few things like LTS and FTS. We try to understand this in the right. So the the FTS is the first release happened, which comes with basically a shorter support. Like we will not have a longer duration of support window. So FTS cycle, if you see, when it comes for mainstream, it has 6 months from the release date. When it comes for extended, it'll have 6 months from like after the mainstream is end. So total you'll get only 12 months of support if you see in that way. But in case of long-term support, whenever there is any long-term support release happen, which is like current version released in 20.10 October, that will be for 24 months, like 2 years support in mainstream and again one year more for extended support. So this is how you need to say, okay, whenever there is any release happen, which version to take in and how. In HP, basically we follow, always we upgrade to LTS. We don't take the FTS because the shorter support cycle, and the LTS comes with a very well structured saying, okay, this is October cycle it released, and we take it to production. But maybe FTS is just for evaluation. We understand what are the new components getting released and what are new activities, so that we understand the new tools technology coming in our way. So that's how this is being defined. So why upgrade is really important. If you say sometime we are still using let's say 2018, although it is deprecated, or maybe sometime we use the older version for a very long time. There are few reasons. If you correlate to the first slide when I say building blocks, there are so many components attached, starting with discovery, let's say connect the action center, maybe some component of insights. So these all are, it's giving this product in a way that you need to have some upgrade done. So in order to onboard new capabilities into your organization, let's say UI Next or Test Manager, everything is interdependent. It cannot go independently. So for that, we need to upgrade. Then only we can adapt it faster, because every time it comes, it adds a lot of values. Very classic example I can give, like Action Center, we were using legacy way to do human in loop earlier. For example, we have certain scenarios where it's a hybrid automation. Think about someone is automation. First step is the automation done by a bot, but second, if there is a human action. So earlier we used to deploy some custom web applications or maybe deploy some web server, but with Action Center being there, these dependencies will not be there at all. So we have this functionality as part of UiPath, so we start using it. So, but in order to onboard this capability, we must upgrade. And as you say that extended and mainstream support cycle, so it's better get the right support if you get the upgraded version. So it is also in the forum, which is our developer forum community, where we can get all answers and more of the conversations happen on any upgrade topics. So upgraded versions will have a more better engagement and get more insights. And it's always, when you see any upgraded version, it fixes a lot of issues in the past. For example, if there could be some common issues in terms of studio orchestrator, maybe in terms of their capabilities, support. So all this improved a lot. So whenever you will have some common issues, that always get fixed with the upgraded version, because this being reported in either through forum or through the support tickets, and also product team really looked into it and improve it in the upcoming release. So to get those advantages and avoid any patch or maybe temporary fix, we should always upgrade. That's the best thing. And the way the tool is evolving, if you see the Studio 2016 till Studio 20.10, the lot is improved. Even a classic example is, let's say it's now UI Next is there, which is combined with the UI automation, but the feature, it's modern activities coming. It's increased, like it's helping the development community a lot, along with CSAP support. I think this is coming with the inline CSAP support. So someone is coming with those. Those are the common question we used to ask UiPath. Okay, when are we going to do UI CSAP support? It's all VB script, or maybe the way the different way to look into the fuzzy selector, or maybe S4 automation. So those type of automation scenarios which were complex, that is now simplified with the upgraded version. So this increases speed of development. And the decoupling service we've been experiencing with 2019 version. And it also support the new product and easier deployment. So now one of the classic example of easier deployment, which is starting with 20.10, is our personal workspace. If you see, personal workspace is one concept which is helping in terms of someone to use a personal workspace, as the name suggests, to create their own workspace. The package feed can be from a folder and can use it at just one click activation. So that's simple it is, and those are the region we should upgrade to take advantage of all this component. Now I'll just move towards, okay, what's the key change in 20.10 upgrade and how we should be prepared for it, and what it's coming in our in terms of installation and upgrade. And if you see there's certain more in terms of the platform and infrastructure wise, it's taking .NET Core 3.1. That's the new upgrade. We need to have this runtime. The runtime is changed. .NET Core 3.1. So we have certain, these are documented in the docs, but ensure these pre things like install .NET Core. You need to ensure that if there are certain plugins are used in terms of the nlog or credential store, if it is custom built, make sure those support .NET Standard 2.0. Otherwise, it will start breaking. And nothing to worry. There are certain more component introduced, which I'll cover in the next, which does all these pre-checks. Not like, okay, it has to manually check. There are certain tools also being introduced from this release where we can do all these checks and prepare. And one more core change in terms of config file. So if you see previous versions, we used to manage everything in web.config. From 20.10, you'll see this config is splitted. We do have config, but there is one more file which is decoupled, where you see there are certain information, for example, the connection string, app settings, quasi configuration, encryption key, or in log. All this is part of orchestrator dll.config. So you'll not be able to trace those into web config. Any modifications required, you can do all this into orchestrator DLL config file. So maybe earlier there would be an approach, you are modifying all this detail through IIS, maybe let's say connection string through IIS, but now you need to go to this file and modify it. And also it needs that forced restart manually. If there is any configuration change you have done, you might need to restart the website as well. One more modification in terms of signal or protocol, which is the key behind when we say there is a robot and orchestrator connecting through Signala. So with 20.10, this is getting upgraded to use WebSocket. The earlier approach, you can see long pooling was used, which is resource intensive for sure. And with 20.10, it is upgraded. But to take this advantage, only, I should not say a drawback, but need to be cautious is the robot also should upgrade to 20.10. If robot is not upgraded, it will still use the older approach of long pulling only. But it's not like it is mandated to upgrade, but to take this advantage, recommend to use this so that you'll start using WebSocket, and that's better than long pulling. So that's why it said backward compatibility, but backward compatibility meaning it still continue to support long pulling. And NuGet package infrastructure is revamped. We'll see those legacy repositories being no longer supported, and we need to do orchestrator-wise upload only. If there is any folder copy, we were able to do that earlier. That's being not supported with 20.10. And Swagger library has been upgraded. The API is not changed. API remains same, but there are certain document structure being modified. And some new tool introduced in terms of encryption. Earlier we were using the default tools, but this time it is coming as part of installation package. And also one more package is the script, which helps to validate if a platform is ready for the upgrade. That's what I was mentioning on this first point, to do this checks installation and all. So to expand a bit more, what are this platform configuration tool? So this helps in two ways. Like one is the pre-installation as well as the post-installation. This basically checks if whether the infra or our platform is ready for the upgrade. So there are certain pre-checks in terms of what you need, PowerShell 5.1 and all these details. And it supports from 2018.4 till 20.4 release, whichever the upgrade you're already having. Once you run this, it will do all these checks. For example, the ASP.NET Core is as per appropriate or not. Otherwise, it will prompt you to install the right package. It also checks if CyberArk, if you are using, then it has to be installed in a specific path like C program 86 and CyberArk folder. Assume it is not located in that, then it will alert you to save one config file in the password encryption API key. Some file is there and you have to copy it to uh, copy the path to the .dll config file location, and also check if it is decrypted or not. If the return encryption is there, if not decrypted, it will ask you to do decrypt manually. And also it does validate if there is any SQL Server scale out is used, but because with this version we see SQL Server is now roll out to Redis scale out option. So it will be prompting, it will by default be turned into Redis scale out enabled. It will not be with SQL Server's scale out option. And if any credential plugin, nlog or any credential external plugins were used, it should use support .NET 2.1. That will prompt as the error. So this is just one screenshot how it runs and give you alert with the color option. Similarly, for once the installation is done, if you want to do a post validation whether any issues are in terms of two checks, it validate if SSL certificate is correct, identity server is responding in the right way. So these two will be validated with the same script. Okay, so that's the platform configuration tool which is coming out of box to test it and then proceed with the upgrade. Now I'll show you one prototype. This is how we plan it internally to take the upgrade process. So how we do is basically whenever there is any LTS release happen, which basically every year October is the time frame when LTS release to market. So we take that to a sandbox environment and then do upgrade. So basically we prepare the sandbox with the previous version so that we can do a upgrade and simulate the scenario as is. So we do upgrade and all the components, for example, inside test manager, less action center release after. So we do all this and say, okay, all this is set up in a sandbox, which is single node, a minor version of that, so that we can test every scenario. Then we do a thorough test in terms of various process, like do a small project creation as a fresh project development. And we also identify some project, let's say, which are the project which is touching most of application running in production. Let's say we have 100 automations, but out of which maybe there are 20 applications are used across 100. So we identify which are the common processes which can cover most of the applications. So we identify those scenarios and try to test it with different testing strategy. Like one is without upgrading the the robot machine, how the robot is behaving from the upgraded orchestrator. And then if you upgrade the robot, how is it behaving in the same package? And then we upgrade the package and test it, whether it is working end to end and what level of effort is required, if there is any code change is expected or any version, if there is any package is really creating issues. So all this we start capturing with this testing, which is basically focusing on testing of production projects so that we are prepared if in case we are going with any of this route, example, no code change or maybe upgrading the code or maybe upgrading the robot, what would be the scenarios we test that. And also we evaluate the new feature and functionality. Like always with any upgrade, there will be a lot of new feature functionality, including orchestrator, UI change and all different components. So we create a team, and also like from various representation. For example, there will be robotic operation center or support team, our development team, or different team members group to bring their own task, and we start evaluating to understand what is different and which is helping and which is creating troubles, and we share those feedback with the UiPath product team to say this is what we experienced with our testing, and this is how what the changes we are expecting and all. So those things happened at that time during the evaluation from this time, and document all the guidelines and whatever the new things so that we can demo the features to maybe let's say developers or maybe solution architect, whichever the role involved, so that they can start thinking or designing a solution, putting the automation in that way. So that happened. And also we do observe in market how is this particular product is behaving at least for a quarter once it is released. Like what is the market behavior, maybe whether it is adapted in a right way, or how is the forum response in terms of the feedback, the behavior, the usage, or what is the common errors being discussed mostly with what scale. So all this take feedback taken into account for at least a quarter. We then plan for our ITG upgrade. So ITG is nothing but your test, maybe QA, whatever we call. This is the test. We first upgrade the test. The reason is, if you upgrade the test, we're just upgrading the orchestrator, but robots are as is, and we are not impacting the development activities. At the end, we always try to maintain in a way that your studio version and the production version is always same. For example, if your studio is 2019.10, the production orchestrator should be 2019.10, and robot is also 2019.10. So in that way, we maintain to avoid any issues and take right advantage. For example, one classic scenario is giving your signal R protocol is modified now. So to get that right advantage, your robot should be upgraded. So those are always interlinked. So we always maintain that scenario. So first we upgrade ITG, observe the behavior of how the robot is working without impacting any development. And by that time, developers also get acquainted with the new concept or new tool, and we also get the right feature onboarded. Then we do a development upgrade. During this time, we declare the MTP freeze to ensure there is no MTP happen after development upgrade, so that there will be no version compatibility. This particular development and production upgrade happens very shorter time. So all the testing, whatever it will be with a larger community, happens between ITG to development. But from development to production, it's very short time where immediately we take these upgrades to development and production. So the MTP freeze window can be shortened. After that, we do all this robot upgrade, because we know today one of these challenges it doesn't upgrade automatically, right? So we have to upgrade those robot versions. We roll out a separate plan to do all these robot version upgrade, and then that's the warranty period to monitor production, and if there is any rollback or any huge concern, we take that. Some of learning always be there, like we have seen in 2019 upgrade as well. There will be some package which get certain issues may be fixed. It has to be recoded, or maybe some custom packages not supporting anymore. There will be some different scenarios which we always observe on every upgrade. Maybe those are the actions we planned it during this sandbox testing, and share it across with the community. How do we prepare in internal upgrades, or maybe any patch release or any CR we are doing? What are the other things needs to be taken care? Those actions being performed. So this is how we planned and take this smooth cycle, and that this get repeat with the next release. And if any issues and all, we'll start taking into account and document it. Okay, so this is one prototype, and let me just move on to what's new. There are a lot of features being introduced with 20.10, but there are a few I'll just touch, which might encourage you, or maybe you think, okay, there are certain things we can really rethink to make this upgrade faster. So one is modern folder being supported with unattended automation now. So earlier it was with attended when it released in past, but now it is supported unattended. If you have not experienced this modern folder, this is really having a lot of good feature in terms of at least those I can call out is larger deployment, where it is making us independent, where we create modern folder and the machine template and start integrating, giving access through AD group. Dynamic license.
Shisha, are you there? We lost you. Okay, let me check with him. I'm calling him, and just give me a minute.
Vibra, I'm there.
Yeah, you are there.
Hello.
Vibha, sorry, there is a
Yeah.
connection issue.
Just got
No, sure.
disconnected. Not sure if there's a connection issue. Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
hear you. You can start sharing your screen also.
Sure. Can you confirm at what step I disconnected?
I think you moved to the next slide.
Okay, at that beginning only
Yeah.
I disconnected.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Shisha, you're about to share the new features. Yeah,
Okay,
Yes.
that's
new
great.
major change.
Okay, I'll stop my video as well. Maybe that's causing bandwidth issue. Okay, so the new major changes, I'll start with the modern folder, what I was explaining. So this is one of the key feature which is introduced. It's not new, but it is released in last. But the new is it starts supporting from unattended automation also. So there is quite a bit advantage of using modern folder. You'll see there are, for example, which we're trying to focus more towards is in terms of dynamic license allocation, larger deployment in terms of AD group, making it independent of the keys being tied with one machine. So all this is well controlled, as well as it also helping us in terms of aligning the folders of folder structure in a right way. So we can control various business groups, various business units, give the right access, control the structure in right way. That is one key benefit. The other areas, if you think of personal workspace, this is introduced with 20.10, and think about today in our organization, we are trying to run a program of citizen automation. What happens in citizen automation is we want to take the initiative called bot for everyone to all employees. In order to achieve that, you can think of, okay, suppose we give, let's say, Studioath license to 100 different users. How can they start using through the digital assistant, which is nothing but you can think of an advanced version of UI robot. In order to use that, you might be thinking, okay, I need to publish a package, then only it will be available. But if it is a structure where a support team need to move the package and there is dependencies, you will not have right access. So it is a bit tedious process today. But with personal workspace, that concept is little bit simplified. I, if I am a user and I have a personal workspace, I can go and publish the package to my personal workspace, and it will start appearing in my uh, digital assistant. It's immediately published as a project or process. So that's the beauty of personal workspace, and it is really a good feature available with this new release. And the UI design is completely modified. If you see as compared to previous versions, even I can say if I compare 2018 and 2019, the versions have changed, but not like the way today. But UI orchestrator is completely modified. You see it is tenant level and also folder level. It is well organized now. But how do we see it as there are certain things managed at a global level, which is at tenant level, and there are certain structures managed at folder level. Suppose we create a folder, whether it is a classic folder or a modern folder, it will be managed at folder level. Certain roles, for example, user, role, machine, package, and library goes to globally managed, and if folder level, it goes for monitor, process, job, queues, asset, and all. So one key difference you can see, there is no package in folder level. That is always in tenant level. And when it comes to a process, a folder, you create it here. But when it comes to a personal workspace, you can always think of the package feeding can happen in folder itself. So it will not go to the tenant level package. It is tied to one of the folder, and then there the package feed is there. That's the difference, and it's completely modified. And you can view it. It might in the first view it might say it's a little bit complex, but if you organize your view in this way, looking at like I have tenant level access, and this is how I should look all the access user and all. And at the folder level, I should access in this way, all these controls, then it's pretty simple. It's organized and well structured in that way. Okay, so a few more in terms of what's new in Studio. There are a few more, but I'll just touch which might help this community. One is UI automation. Earlier it was called as UI Next, but with the recent release, that all got merged into UI automation with modern feature that can be enabled within Studio itself. There are a lot of new element being introduced. I've given the link, but it has a lot of new capabilities as a modern feature. I have a detail in the next, which at least I'll touch few more. Certain things where you can see is click relative is changed. So these areas, click relative, how it is reacting. Whenever you do upgrade with UI automation with modern features, do evaluate it and see there will be some difference. There is a new component like screenshot file is being having more control with us today, saying where we can do override, auto increment, all this is available today. As I said, C# support now available as inline support in C#. Two key feature I personally liked it as compared to the previous one. When we in our organization we are using S4 ERP as Fiori, the web tool. One of the challenge with the previous version was when we say it was going with iframe selector identification, and because Fiori is completely built on top of various iframes, like it's the UI5 completely that's the technology behind. It has many iframes, and the way the previous versions of UiPath will detect is identifying the web control, loading the document object model, identifying the selector is always a tedious task. But with the new version, you will see that is improved. Whenever it starts interacting with any S4 application, it will go by UI5 controls. You will see very structured indication and identify the right element. That's the screenshot I mentioned. So you start, if you are using S4, this is getting, I can say, more optimized with this particular release, where you'll see the selectors are exposing in a right way rather than in looping across the iframes. Okay, so this is a quick comparison, or maybe I cannot say comparison, maybe a quick glimpse of how the modern activities looks like. So this is the left side. You see when you turn on your modern experience on the studio, you'll see those details. And if the older version, that is with classic, these are the comparable activities. For example, you'll see check apps state. So earlier we were having those on element appear, on element vanish, so all the element exist, and all this particular controls. Basically, these controls are nothing but proactive checks, I can say proactive controls, which help us to avoid any issue shock, or maybe we can do some proactive actions and then take necessary steps what to do. So that is now check abstract. Now earlier we were having check, now check uncheck, click of being there. Earlier it was, but the properties will needs to be defined. Extract structured data, full text and all, you will be able to see extract table data and get text remains same, and navigate to is you'll see here as go to URL. Hover is for this hover an image, which is widely used for mouse activities. Navigate browser, having all these properties wrapped. Select item, text screenshot, just so there's certain difference in terms of the properties, and type into having all this. And this is certain behavior, like you see the UI automation next, which is combined, having the feature where you all this key component to identify selector is merged, like click relative or maybe anchor base, whatever we were doing earlier, it's grouped into one to identify the right selector. So this is a view of how the modern looks like, modern versus classic looks like. One of the component which is new is UiPath Assistant, which is released with definitely with 20.4 we started using it, but as a LTS it is released as UiPath Assistant. You can start using the view is basically changed. And if someone is new to understand this tool, this is nothing but I can say advanced version of UI robot, right? It is nothing but helping us to execute the automation solutions through attended behavior. Like suppose I am an attended user, I can take the right advantage of digital assistant. Some of the key feature which is good in this one is, first is reminder. You'll say there will be a notification triggered here. This small icon reminder, you can set what process you want to trigger at what time. It will alert you to say, okay, this process you want to start. So it will not start by itself, otherwise it would be attended automation, unattended automation. It's a process should start with user, so it will alert you to start the bot. And as you see, there are various categories or sections like default, home. These are all coming from the way your folder structure is organized in an orchestrator. Maybe the way it is organized today, think about you are part of one COE, and within that you are part of one business group, and within that one business group, if it is organized in that way, you'll be able to see those folders appearing with those skills, whichever the commonly available robot will appear for you, because this is available as a reusable, or maybe run the bot. So those will appear where you can clearly differentiate which is pertaining to what folder. So you can start the bot and search. All these actions can be done. So, okay, so one more new feature introduced with 20.10 is PIP, nothing but picture in picture. One of common challenge which we always face from business is, if it is attended automation and I start a bot, at that time my machine is busy, and how it might free up my time. And if it is particularly using UI, like user interface, at that time user machine is blocked. Basically, they have only action to monitor, but really they're not using any productive way. That's the real challenge. And with UiPath Assistant picture in picture, I see that challenge is getting over. So any process, basically team can start in PIP. There's an option here, start in PIP. So this particular will start open a separate window, which is using this PIP concept, and start executing your workflow within that. So it's basically isolating the entire Windows session within those PIP control, perform the action of the automation, however it is developed. In the same time, user on his machine can do any action the way they're looking for. Suppose they want to do any other actions on this, they can still perform on the desktop without having any action, without having their keyboard and mouse disturbed. So earlier, one of the challenge we had is we used to do virtual desktop created, or maybe remote additional remote machine being provisioned to users so that they can do all this action, or maybe two machine they're monitoring parallelly all this. But with PIP, I see those all challenges get rid, where you you can start a process in picture. Once the process done, your task is completed, and you're free to do any action you want to. So it's a very good new feature which can be explored and used with 20.10. And this triggers notifications. As I said, there are certain new triggers being introduced as well, like element attribute change, status change, desktop trigger. So they are helpful during our attended automation process. Okay, so this is on assistant. So let's say quick glimpse on assistant, orchestrator, and studio. What is coming with 20.10? Now there are many other features also being introduced, and not the end, but I'll still encourage you go to docs.uipath.com and then test all of these components. There would be some component which we are using, which maybe we're using a part of 2019, but there are certain component new. So we must test those. Like object repository, which I've not discussed, but just to call out object repository, all these are very new and robust in nature, which can be further explored and used in our upcoming releases as well. So certain best practices, what are the things we need to take into account while we are upgrading. This is you can create all this as a checklist or reference point, which will help throughout the cycle, so to have the entire upgrade done smoothly. So first thing is, I was explaining, identify a list of projects which cover most of your application. So first have a team prepared and then start evaluating, okay, I identify 5-6 projects, what all applications it touch, and in our production, how many applications are there. The reason of asking this is maybe one of the upgrade, one application which very unlikely situation that application is not responding correctly, or maybe let's say one of the classic example I can say in 2019 upgrade when we were doing, that time we were having a scenario of Excel. We will never expect, okay, Excel will break because of upgrade. But that scenario was we are traversing through multiple Excel sheet, and there was a version upgrade happened to Excel activity, and that multiple Excel sheet was not working properly. The reason was very minor scenario where the worksheet has to be within group, and also those are the scenario. But we encountered that because of those testing and prepared for it. And there was this ASCII character concept, ASCII character issues. So very minor issue will come across when you start exploring different applications to test. So identify any minor applications in your list and say, okay, these are the list of project, these are list of application, and you can evaluate, okay, if you're touching most of the application from production. Define this testing strategy. So create that checklist to say, oh, I should be able to test it. This at least these three scenarios, like test without upgrading your robot. So the package is just running from orchestrator, upgraded orchestrator to the older version. Test with upgrading the robot so that you know, okay, how is the package, the older package is reacting to the upgraded robot. So if there is any possibility of some error at this scenario, the second scenario. And the third scenario is when you upgrade, there might, is there any question? I see some unmute. Okay. So when you say there is a package upgrade in Studio, you'll be able to understand, okay, there could be some dependency libraries which is not loading or whatever. All these learning will start documenting uh, upgrade scenarios. Like when you open any package in Studio, it will upgrade, but you'll see, okay, the common scenarios need to test it. The moment you upgrade, it might be still linked with the UI automation 2019 version. So go to your dependency library, go to manage package and try to upgrade it and see after that how is it reacting, because then only you'll get the right set of activities into it. Otherwise, you'll still be reflecting. Maybe you're opening in the upgraded version, but your UI automation may be the older version. That is one of scenario you need to check always, whether you are using the right UI automation versions or not. Otherwise, your studio will not automatically may not be upgrade to 20.10. So to take that, you might need to upgrade it so that it will start reflecting. Create a sandbox environment so that you test all the feature. Testing is really important to avoid any production break. So create a sandbox, test not only your production project, but also take those time to test all these activities, all the features, less the PIP, how is the picture in picture responding to various scenario. For example, one of the scenario I can say smart card testing with picture in picture earlier breaking. So we reported this issue saying smart card is not working. So it's being fixed. So all this try to see with various application, which is really responding correctly. Maybe as per your company scenario, maybe you can document certain things and say, okay, these are working, these are certain things we will be future improvement, and something we can uh, share the feedback to your team as well, saying this is what we observed. So test all activities which is new so that you're prepared, and document all the learnings. And because maybe initially when you are testing, it will not be the all development team, your group of team members you're testing this, and document all this, share this uh, plan, everything with team. They are all aware, including a business team as well. So test, document, and democratize to everyone. Because at the same time, for example, there is a capability to introduce a task capture to create your process design document automatically, right? So it is a feature. So if you'll not democratize, team might not use it. Similarly, if there is any PIP is introduced, picture in picture is having a lot capability. If you're not taking it to the business, they'll be still using a legacy way to use VM, or maybe relying on running on a certain time where they're not using and all these things. So we need to democratize these features so that create a plan. How do you are taking it to a rollout plan? So everybody is taking advantage of this new feature and the solution coming in that way. And send proper downtime communication much before. Let's say at least we are planning in terms of 2 weeks ahead. We send a downtime communication to everyone in terms of maybe upgrade we are doing over the weekend. So, but at least there are processes running 24/7. There will be inflows, there will be backlog. So to avoid any BCP scenario, business needs to be aware. So involve all these scenarios into your checklist. Do some downtime communication. Create a detailed checklist so you track it. Okay, what time we're doing what, and it's being tracked against. So a proper date time. We also do one thing here is in our checklist, whenever we have some upgrade, we do a proactive communication to the CSMs, customer success manager, to ensure there is a time blocked on so and so time. If there is any issue happened, someone is supporting us on call, right? If maybe over the weekend we might have limited support, but that time if it is a production upgrade, it's critical. We might run into any kind of scenarios or issues, and that is critical someone to help at that time. So we can do all this. So that's where the engagement and information come into picture. That could be, let's say, database admin team, your DBA is informed if in case there are certain access restrictions needed, or maybe a Windows team needs to involve a certain time. So whoever the team, based on your access, privilege, and role, so you need to have those communications established, inform CSM and UiPath team before, so that if any support needed at that time, someone is helping in terms of providing any resolution on upgrade issues. And if any cybersecurity review has to happen as per of company guidelines, like we do have. So whenever there is an upgrade or new feature being introduced, we do a review, thorough review to ensure it's compliant and following all the guidelines while we take it to a larger audience at enterprise. So that's how there are certain best practices, and keenly you need to ensure you're meeting all the system requirement, because as you see, infrastructure requirement are changing, like .NET Core or Signal or protocol, all these are changing, and you will see those capability as well, which we are introducing, let's say test manager or action center. Action center will be minor, but at least let's say inside. So you need all these new servers. There are certain recommendations. It will not be same server where orchestrator is installed. So all these recommendations, you should do a thorough check prior as part of your checklist to ensure you're not last minute, you're not encountering, okay, there is a server needed, which should have planned before. So learn about all these changes, what is introduced, any new orchestra deployment may bring some breakout, right? So it might bring some application down. So testing is important. And do all this platform testing, as I said, the PowerShell files to do evaluation before you do upgrade, because that will give you clear indication it's good to go or there is any corrective measures to take. So that's on best practice. Some common issues and resolution, which will be my last topic. There are certain scenarios I'll just touch. What happened is always keep in mind the compatibility matrix. This is published in, again, the docs. You can refer this one whenever there is any release happen. The first thing is see, okay, how it's really impacting the compatibility to background compatibility. Like we have 20.10 release. How do I see this is, okay, if orchestrator is 20.10, a robot is 20.10, it's supporting. Orchestra 20.4, robot 20.10 supporting. Orchestra 19.10, robot 20.10, it's supporting. Same way, you just need to scan through saying, okay, for orchestra 20.10, it means it's still supporting till 18.4, but 19.4 robot, it will not support. So that's how you need to see the flow. If you just scan it through, how it happens is 19.4 is a FTS release. Okay, this is released as a FTS, so it's not supporting, and it's 18.4 is LTS. So LTS support still continue with this one. Similarly, orchestrator 20.4 is our FTS, continue with the flow, but here it support. But there is some maybe some issues being identified, it's not supporting, so we have to prepare. If any robot which is 19.4 must be upgraded to 19.10. Downgrade doesn't make sense, so I will suggest you that time you can upgrade it to 19.10 either, or else 20.10. So based on your testing. So this is how the compatibility matrix you need to read through and prepare. Okay, so the very immediate action would be looking at this upgrade scenario and take which robots it support. If any robot is not supporting, make a plan for upgrade the robot before you upgrade the orchestrator. Otherwise, the moment you upgrade the orchestrator, the robot will start breaking. So you should upgrade it before, if you have a lot of multiple robots in place. So some common scenario what I mostly say is, suppose you're upgrading it, first thing is you take care about your database first. Take a backup of DB completely, and also say if you are using database logs, not Elastic alone, and if the size of the logs table is important, as per the recommendation from UiPath, should be less than 2.5 million log. If it is more than that, then try to archive those logs so that it will not impact to your upgrade. So archiving at that time, there's certain best practice I can call out. So you can think of this. Whenever you're doing any archive, we basically run the delete script. But deleting directly from table, maybe it will create a lot of issue if you're really having more than 2.5 million long version. The DB table is really busy. So create a script in a way that it is not deleting as a whole, but yes, you are creating a bad job kind of thing and creating a process where deleting only few number of record as per your database size, and then iterating over until you reach certain limits. So in that way, you have to create some custom script as a best practice I've observed. But at the end, the main objective is before you upgrade, make sure DB table logs are cleaned to maintain less than 2.5 million. And if if you're not using the DB table log, then this will not be a problem. But if you're using it, ensure it is within that limit. Required access are there. Access checks you can do it because there will be stored procedure created, maybe table created, different schema always change with every upgrade. So ensure those required access are available with you. And therefore, some configuration and IIS with this 20.10, there is certain decoupling happened with the DLL config file introduced. So keeping that into account, this is, I say, is a good where IIS changes are really not going to impact a lot, but at least do cross checks with the required IIS configuration as part of prerequisite. Validate if installation directory is the way it is defined, it's there or not. Sometime what we have done is I've seen when we upgrade, after that we change the directory path, but when we do a next upgrade, that time it still remember through the registry path when is the last upgrade happened, which path, and try to do it. It will not be able to do the upgrade successfully, rather it will try to do installation. So those are certain issues which you might check in terms of the last installation. If you have modified the directory, if it is really reflecting correctly to the appropriate registry path and how, and check compatibility. Few more in terms of the common issues. I'll not go through all this, but this is just few which can help while you are working on. Like let's say added a credentials to a plugin, but it's not working. Just ensure the first thing is I mentioned .NET core is changed, so it should compatible to .NET version, and also you need to ensure if it is correctly configured in not in the web config but UiPath orchestrator DLL.config, because that is where it is the keys are moved, the certain informations are moved to that. So that is important to validate. Personal workspace, maybe we'll say personal workspace is good, but it's not available. It may be because it's not enabled, so it has to be enabled by your administrator and orchestrator. So once it is enabled, this will be available as personal workspace where you can publish, deploy your package and take this particular advantage. And a few more in terms of SSL binding. I have seen this during our upgrade scenario. Even if it is expired, there are certain places where the keys are saved. You might need to rebuild the keys, take those manually, do these corrections. So in registry file also, there is a steps where you can go to modify, evaluate, or validate how is the SSL binding is happening. A few more is in terms of readiness script check. Basically, it is not only for pre-install. There are, as I said, there are two scripts you can run, pre and post. Pre will give you certain information in terms of validating .NET Core or your NuGet package path, nlog versions, all the details. And post will check SSL binding and all the things like identity server check. All this will happen with post script. There are two scripts you can check. And yeah, this I will definitely share. There are a lot more content and experience being shared by various users, some insider preview content. Yeah, I'm now open for questions. I know we have 4 minutes. If you have any questions or anything in chat, feel free to.
I guess you can unmute yourself and ask any question.
Hi, Seshir. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, well.
Hi, I'm Haripriya here. I have a question on picture-in-picture mode. I've tried it for some old processes, but just wanted to understand in case if we have to do it as part of always running process or trigger it for only certain invoke processes in between a very large workflow, is there a way to do that?
So two things. One is, if it is a long running workflow, make sure picture is designed for attended automation. Okay, it's not for unattended. And second is, if you're trying to say if processes break into 2-3 and part of it you want to take it to picture in picture, I don't think that is possible. It has to start, the entire process has to start in picture. Okay, so if you have a process A and B, you both can be parallelly, like you can run one after another in the picture in picture. But assume in a process A you have 3-4 steps. One particular step you want to take into picture in picture. That is not the way.
Not as such in step. Let's say invoke a different process. So in even in that scenario, we will not be able to use picture in picture, because there will be scenarios like where we will be continuously polling the email to see if there is any email to start the next steps in the process. So in that case, picture in picture doesn't make really sense, right? So I'm just asking for a way where some of the process can run background, and we can create a invoke method or invoke process for triggering another process where I require a picture in picture, where I need continuous monitoring of the process. So this is the scenario that I'm trying to see if PIP can work out.
On your scenario, I can think of there is a background process. We can create some background automation, and you can always run those background automation in parallel, right? If you think the new version, how it is supporting is, I create a background automation and run it. At the same time, you can run other process as well. And yeah, maybe it can be designed in a way that there is a new item received, there's a new email received, and you have a queue trigger created. The moment new item received, it will start, maybe let's start in an unattended mode. It will trigger a bot. Those type of design can be done, but yeah, background process are there which might best fit. But yeah, if you think, okay, I have automation which can run, you can run, I'll say you have a process which you want to run into a picture in picture. If it is email extraction, you can do that, but not as the invoke process separately.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
No problem. So I have a question in the chat. It says from Manik, for PIP feature, is there any specific hardware requirement on the specific machine? Not hardware requirement. Whenever you have the UiPath installed in your local machine, it creates that picture in picture in Windows 10 feature. It's part of Windows 10 functionality, so it starts running in local machine. But think this is always a attended automation feature, so that you get the right advantage of it. What else you have? Maybe I know there are a lot of content to cover. Maybe yeah. Great.
Jitin here. What would be your opinion about a best strategy for a HA upgrade? Something with if client has a multi-node orchestrator with HA and it is a 2019 version, if they want to go with the 2020.10, what would be the best way to do it?
So I'll just go to that slide. And in our scenario, we are in HA where we have multiple servers. We have multiple data center where this is setup is done. One is with one data center, other is another data center. One is our, I can say one is active and passive mode. It's completely in HA. So how we do, the first step is we in the sandbox, we don't test in HA. We test with one single node to evaluate the tool completely, how it is. When we do the ITG upgrade, that's completely a production replica, which is already in HA. So we do that testing fully on ITG. That's why we given a longer time between ITG and development upgrade. And they say, is it really working fine with HA environment? What is the real outcome? So we do a HA upgrade on ITG. Then finally, all these outcomes we consolidate and take the learning and then do development upgrade and then do production upgrade. And this is how the upgrade works. And if you see, think of all the best practice I mentioned, that still holds good. That's why I said, considering the HA environment, anything, there will be a lot of upgrades to do, multiple servers to touch. So that's why you have to plan the downtime communication and timelines properly, so that it's not last minute surprise, like one server is not responding. What would be different things? You have to do multiple environment touch, evaluate, and all these actions to be done. But yes, do the downtime. What I have experienced in our scenario is we turn the servers to down. We make it not in parallel run. We start database backup in a particular time. So all DBs are backed up. We stop all the server and we start upgrading one after another and start all the instance. So those certain common best practice we follow. Hope
So
this,
it's completely based on the client requirements, right? Basically,
yeah.
I don't think most of the clients might not have a multiple HAS setup. As a backup also, we may not have an HAS setup to test it out, right? Most probably it will be directly in production itself.
Correct.
So
Yeah, that scenario, yeah, you need to treat in individual servers, but it is depending on client. But I'll suggest, yeah, in that way you can only go by the lower instance upgrade and then plan for production. But yeah, it needs to be proper time. Give the proper time so that you can do all the right testing and upgrade all the servers. Yeah, if you don't have
Just
that
to
privilege to have replica. Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much.
Just to add here, Sashira, for the question. So in this scenario, because HAA, you cannot do backup, you can plan for a parallel upgrade where you keep your existing system as it is and start spinning up the new servers. If the client is okay for this, the cost that's going to happen for spinning up the same machines. Parallel upgrade could be one of a quick solution. As you said, we cannot do this multi-node and HAA as a backup environment for it.
Parallel upgrade and migrate the database. That would be the best solution, I believe.
Keep a backup of DB and migrate upgrade of database will already happen through your installer.
Correct. MSI. Okay. Yeah.
I have some question on the chat. I'm just testing those. Is there any troubleshooting guide for UiPath 20.10? Yes, troubleshooting guides are there. Maybe if you're part of preview, you'll be able to get a lot of content in that. But one of the best places is forum.uipath.com. We will get right all questions being discussed and right audience and product team answers. That's the place you'll get many details. Okay, I've seen one more from Satya again from PIP mode. I could see that when the bot logs into session in PIP mode, it throws error that browser extents are not enabled. In Dev, I have not resolved this again to PIP enabled. Okay, so okay, if there is any workaround, maybe we need to test this particular scenario. If browser extension, if you are enabling from a local machine, if it is enabled, still you are getting this error. Satya, I'm not getting, or
yeah.
If it is enabled, still it is giving you that error. Is it? Okay.
It is enabled. So, but in the pip mode, it is mentioning that it is not enabled. As a dev, I just took the control and enabled it. But when it comes to user case, it might not be the best possible thing, right?
The way it works is in PIP, basically it creates a new profile. Okay, that is there. So when you open any browser within PIP, it creates a new profile. Maybe with that same profile, that's why it is showing that it's not enabled. If you take that control and enable it again, if you restart, does it remove that, or every time do you need to enable this extension?
Once, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, maybe I need to check this particular piece with. Maybe we can log this issue. But one thing I'm aware, when you open any browser session, it creates a new profile completely. So those scenarios, it always. Yeah, that's why maybe it is giving us that extension issue. Okay. How can we remove image watermark using UiPath different position text and constant? So if you just elaborate this question, where you are removing this watermark? From a
that watermark inside of image.
Okay.
Yeah, inside of image we have some watermark. I need to remove that watermark, that particular text only. But already we are trying OCR, Microsoft OCR, TerraSite OCR, everything we already tried, but it is not working. So
okay,
how
so
we can do that?
So I'm just thinking, maybe you can. Are you able to extract the content from the image?
Using
Using OCR?
get visible text. Using OCR, I'm not trying that.
Okay, I'm just thinking maybe you can, because watermark removal meaning you can create a new similar image with the same type. Yeah, that would be the approach. Get all the text and maybe create one more template and remove that. Use get
Okay.
like using OCR, you extract the text, create one more image template.
Shishra, you shortly mentioned that, if somebody is part of the preview, right? So I will quickly share the link for the Insider Preview program. But because I see you are quite active over there, so can you just share your experience and why you suggest people should be part of Insider Preview program?
Sure. So Insider Preview is a very good platform to. First thing is you'll get the opportunity to understand the product before it's available as a GA. So you'll get right attention from the product team. There is an option where the moment anything is released, anything new. Let's take the example of Robotic Operation Center, which is very new concept release. It's available in Insider Preview. Go there, enroll into that, start using it, and give feedback. And immediately you'll get response from the product manager or maybe product team saying, "We consider your input to in the next sprint, or else there is certain answers. How can we handle it?" All this will get immediately. And good thing is you will test the product before it is there in GA. If you have a cloud instance, you will provide certain details, ID and other things. They'll enable it and confirm you saying, okay, your ID is enabled, you start testing this. So, and the third aspect is you learn all the experience. Like as I said, there are certain content I said as a common issues and all. Those are the content from Insider Preview where product team, whenever any product goes into GA, they summarize all observations, what are the common issues being faced, what are the solutions being provided. So everybody can get access to all the discussion points, and all relevant materials also will get. For example, you are testing a tool called Digital Assistant, the UiPath Assistant, or that time you go to that Insider Preview, review all the content like one pager, a detail how to use it, everything, video, all one place store for everything. Yes, it is not duplicating to docs.uipath.com. Everything after Insider definitely going to docs.uipath. That's how I see it. But you get a early access to tool, and also get that leverage to interact with product team directly. And also there is a meeting happened every monthly to where they show the features, capability, tools to Insider team, and you will get the right like engagement with this team. So I see those are the key benefits. Add a lot of value.
Yeah, thank you, Shishra. So I'm just sharing two links. The second link, if you see, that's a direct link to go to the Insider Preview program. Otherwise, if you visit community events, you will see the icons over there, and one which will say Insider Preview. So as an insider, you get access to the early builds of new features and updates, and you have also opportunity to test and provide feedback to the product managers, as Shishra mentioned.
Okay, so and I see one more question in terms of HA multiple node, what all services we need to stop. So generally what we do is we stop the IS just before the upgrade so that there is no further transaction happen, or declare a downtime, and we maintain the proper logs in the right process. So that's why we stop IS, which stop all the process services.